All right, cool. And we're live now with Blu Gilliand. So it's been I know over the last couple of years, you and I have had a chance to go back and forth quite a bit as I somehow snuck my way into the gates of that cemetery dance, and you guys are crazy enough to let me throw a few words over at you, interviews and some reviews and things. So, and it's probably been a couple of years since I've wanted to chat with you because you make the job look really easy, but I'm gonna guess it's anything but easy. So,
Well, it depends on who you're working with, but we have a really good group of columnists and reviewers who are constantly feeding me stuff. So you guys really do make my job easy.
that's you're too kind. And how long have you been with Cemetery Dance for? I know you've been
You
there
know,
for quite a long time.
I thought you might ask me that, and I should have looked. It's going on 5 or 6 years now, I think,
Yeah. Okay.
since I
Cool.
was brought on to work on the website, and yeah, time flies. So
You're not kidding.
it's time is meaningless these days. So we'll go with 5 years.
And how did you first come on to Cemetery Dance? I mean, I guess like most folks, you probably came on as a fan first because I think Cemetery Dance themselves have been around. I was talking to Rich a while back, but I should know the answer to this too, and I should have looked it up. So, geez, it's got to be almost 20 years. I want to say more than that. I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think Rich started the magazine in probably '89 when he was in college, and from that grew the publishing house and everything that they do today. Um, but the way I came on was I was doing a lot. I was kind of bouncing around the fringes of the horror fiction community. I did a lot of reviews for different websites, and I eventually started my own little blog that I called October Country after the Ray Bradbury book.
Right.
And
Yeah. Definitely.
so through that, through doing those reviews for various sites and then for my own place, I would reach out, made contacts with a lot of publishers who, would provide me with review copies and things like that. And one of those was Brian Freeman at Cemetery
Okay.
Dance. And, he was he's of course recently left Cemetery Dance, but he was there at the time. And I was always great to send me review copies of whatever they had going on. So out of nowhere one day, I get this email from Brian, and he says, "Hey, we want to expand our website to not just be a store, but we want to have a section on there for kind of a magazine style format with reviews and occasionally short fiction and that kind of thing. And I don't have time to run it, but you came to mind. Would you be interested?" And I don't think I read the end of the email before I was hitting reply to say, "Yeah, yeah, I'd love to come with you guys."
Of course.
I as you said, I came into contact with them as a fan first. I think From a Buick 8 by Stephen King was the first limited
Okay.
edition I bought from anybody, and of course that was a Cemetery Dance book, and that's how I became aware of them. And had spent a lot of money there over the years, and now I'm slowly getting it back as. But yeah, so he kind of emailed me out of nowhere, and we talked about what they wanted and what my responsibilities would be, and I jumped on board, and it's been rolling ever since.
So you're basically responsible for the review and the interview and that portion of Cemetery Dance. It sounds like then. So that didn't exist at all then really until you came on board. It sounds like.
Right. They had a free read section where they would do excerpts of their books coming out and the occasional essay and things like that. But it was nothing on a regular continuous basis. And part of what they wanted to do was give people another reason to come to their website other than when they see a link for a book going up to pre-order, that kind of thing, to just get more eyes on the website. And then hopefully, that would translate into them, into people who maybe hadn't been cemetery dance customers before, to look at the whole site and see what they had to offer. But they also wanted, something that was some good quality writing, covering horror fiction, never meant to be just a commercial for their products. It was always meant to be, something that championed other writers, championed other small press publishers. That was kind of my vision of it, and they were more than happy to go along with that. So they've really gave me a lot of free reign as to what kinds of things to do on that portion of the site, and really expand that beyond just reviews and that sort of thing. So we've tried some things that worked, tried some things that worked or that didn't work, and we keep trying to bring new voices and new ideas in, and hopefully people do enjoy it.
I definitely love the fact that you have opened up this branch of cemetery dance, because it really is win-win situation, because it's a great way for, I think, CD to certainly attract a lot of fantastic readers and possibly even writers outside of their typical line, from their typical in-house stable of writers. And it's also great, I find, too, for as a fan, where you're being able to get immersed, and you're being able to get rather exposed to all these different writers that you might not have been able to. Obviously, I'm very biased in the very fact that I love doing these podcasts, and I love doing the interviews as well, and having a great home like Cemetery Dance. Is it's so wonderful to be able to peel back the curtain, really dive into these creators' minds. So it's great that that CD is giving you that opportunity to really run with it. And you do such a fantastic job too, Blue, because everything that I send you is laid out so nicely, professionally, and the images that you get, that you also include with the interviews, it just blows me away. I mean, I'm excited to see what the heck you're going to include in what stuff. Even though I tried to send you the images I have, I'm like, holy crap! Like, where did you even find that like obscure cover that was probably done on a limited run like 30 years ago that nobody's even ever seen? Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I love looking for those old covers, those vintage retro kind of feels for stuff that is maybe being re-released, or anniversary editions and that kind of thing comes out. I love to go back and find those old covers and those things, just to kind of show where it's come from and where it is now. And so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's so much fun to see them too. And obviously, it helps that you've been such a fan of CD and the horror genre in general as well, that you probably have a few up your sleeve or in your attic. I remember when I chatted with Rich, and I sent over the interview with you. You had a picture, an image copy of the very first ever Cemetery Dance issue, and I'm like, holy crap, where'd you get that from? And of course, it was yours. So, when it comes to getting onto Cemetery Dance, when it comes to be able to maybe have an excuse to seek out writers that people love, to pick their brains, and then have a place where they can they can sell them to, what would you advise? Or I'm not sure, people come to you and say, hey, I want to be an interviewer, I want to be a reviewer too, what do I have to do? Are there any specific things that you would suggest to them as far as getting their stuff over to you?
No, I would just say, we're always open to having new people on the team, new people to come in and write stuff for us. So, just reach out to me on Twitter or through my email address, which is Blu Gilliand, like you see it on the screen, @gmail.com. And just, pitch me an idea, and then we'll go from there. Like I said, we're always looking for new people, new contributors, new voices, new ideas. So yeah, there's nothing special to it other than having a good idea and the ability to communicate that idea well. And we can talk.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's great advice to people, and I'll definitely post a link down below as well, so that people do have at least your Twitter account. Even if they're not reviewers or interviewers themselves, you're a monster when it comes to the social presence as well. I mean, you're always great at posting up new content that comes onto CD as well. So it's a great chance just to see sort of who's out there, who's working in the field. I know I've definitely read a lot of other interviews other folks have done as well, and it's been a real treat to see that you've been very active with that.
Thanks.
No problem, yeah. And that's got to be such a huge task as well, I'm sure. Uh,
It
you know,
can be, but it's some weeks go and you just have a few things trickle in, and I've been able to schedule stuff several weeks out so that it's not like we come up on a week and I don't have anything planned for the next few days and I have to scramble and get something. We've kind of in a good spot right now where we've got a lot of stuff kind of laid to the side to plug holes when we need to, and always have a few things coming in any given day or any given week. So we're in a good place right now where we're able to just keep adding stuff to the list, and it runs pretty smooth. And just because I said that, it'll go terribly this week. But
right. Knock on wood here.
That'll teach me for bragging about how smooth it's going right now. But
Exactly. In fact, I think I see a little tech gremlin on your shoulder just giggling away over there now.
yeah, probably so.
You didn't know you have summoned the gremlins.
That's right.
They live for this stuff. So yeah, and you really would think it was a very smooth operation as well, because I mean we all know that no matter how smooth it looks on the surface, there's always things and going on behind the scenes that would try to prove otherwise, and fires to be put out. So I definitely commend you on making it look like it's the easiest job in the world, which of course I know it's not. And one of the things that I love too, and I'm sure it helps you out to keep a ready available amount of content ready to go no matter what, is that not that it's a bad thing, but there's certainly other publications out there, maybe because they have to, where they typically would only post things up that are, a couple months old or whatever, certainly periodicals again, because that's just the nature. They have to do that.
Right.
But I think it's fantastic that you're not as picky, I guess I'll say, as a word. I don't know if that's the right word, but you're certainly not as picky as long as it's something that is just great content from great authors that fans would enjoy reading. So
yeah, we when I have reviews come in of older books, I mean I don't have a problem running those because there are still people who've not heard of that book, and this may be their way to discover that. So it helps the readers, it helps the authors, of course, the same way. That a book's been out for 6 months or a year, people aren't talking about it, and we can throw a review up and maybe get a few more eyes on it. So that works out well. We try and prioritize when we have reviews of stuff that is advanced, that is, we want to get those reviews in there first, so that we can be a couple of weeks or a week or so ahead of the day that the book actually publishes. But yeah, I've got some reviews that I haven't used yet, but we'll be using, that are books from 2021, 2020. That they're good books, they're good reviews, and when we have a gap in the week when we need to publish something, we'll pull one of those and use it. And yeah, like I said, it works good for the reader and good for the writer too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know that's and I'm sure a lot of people have the same problem as well, that as a reviewer you can only read so fast. I find, at least that's my problem. Honestly, I don't even know why I review books sometimes. I'm such a slow reader. It's like, it's almost I have a stack of all these books, and I see on social media all these great writers that are putting all these books out, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, hey, that's great, keep them coming, but at the same time, like, can you slow down a little bit here? Or and so it's fantastic that I mean, I've got even little books between reviews. I'll go back and I'll read a book that I primarily know is just going to be for pleasure, and it's fantastic to know that gotta say, like yours, like Cemetery Dance, that I'm like, okay, I'll sit down. It's been a while. I read this 6 months ago, and I've done that a couple times with you, Blue, where I've said, hey, would you be interested in taking this? And it's so good because it gives a great book another fresh breath of air as well, and hopefully breathes a bit more new life into it, and helps to make that connection, which is, I think, is pretty awesome.
I definitely feel your pain when it comes to trying to keep up with books that you want to read, and then you've got books that you need to review, and it all kind of, gets on top of each other, and it's like, man, I really want to read these 3 books that came out this week, but I've got this book that's coming out next week that I need to finish, and this book that came out a month ago that I'm supposed to have reviewed by now. And yeah, it can get overwhelming at times. A lot of our reviewers, I'll see them or hear from them that, I've just got so much, and
Yeah.
it's hard to keep up with, but you do the best you can. And I think most of the authors are just glad to have reviews of their books, whether they're, right before the book comes out or 6 months after.
Yeah, 100%. And to help with that section that you're very vigilant at keeping running so smoothly that nothing ever goes wrong. When you first when Brian first got you involved with that task, was there anything? I mean, that I can just imagine. I mean, in one sense, it must have felt like a kid in a candy shop, because you're basically handed the keys and say, "Come on in and do what you want. Put the furniture wherever you want. Invite whoever you want over and do your thing. This is
Right.
just get as many eyeballs on this thing as you can." But at the same time, you obviously don't want to screw up, and you don't want to, kind of do all kinds of things. And you're like, what are you even thinking? This is not what we had in mind at all. Like, what was the biggest challenge, like when you first started out, and as far as maybe what they had in mind that they would like a guy like you to do, and what you had in mind that you would want to do now that you got the keys to the place?
I think what I had to do was learn that they trusted me, and to trust myself, based on that, and not feel like I had to constantly go to him, hey, is this okay? Is this okay? That after a while, I figured out that they had seen what I had been doing and were happy with that. And, so I just had to kind of keep following that same track, and just, if there was anything crazy, which I mean, really with reviews and interviews and that kind of thing, there's really not anything too outlandish that you can do.
Yeah.
So, if it's bigger things like a story, a piece of fiction, then I would always make sure to run it by them and say, does this, I like this story. Does this represent Cemetery Dance well enough to publish it on our website? Even though it's not print publication, we're still in effect publishing that story. And, so I would am always sure to go through them through Richard now, for things like that. But otherwise, it's been free reign, and I guess I haven't done anything too damaging because I'm still. So,
Good. We'll keep that up.
yeah, we'll try and keep on that track.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, are there any along the way, again, because of something like that is relatively new, I'm sure there's going to be things unexpected have come up, or maybe ways that you've affected the website or came across through the website that you maybe didn't expect. But was there anything that really sticks out in your mind as far as, wow, I had no idea that this was going to happen, or I didn't expect this to go this way at all, that ended up being a good thing that you've been pretty happy about?
I think just the different types of columns that we've been able to run, like your column. We've got things that are writing prompts. We've got things that are, we have one that's kind of an irregular column, but guys is reviewing every single story that Cemetery Dance has published in the magazine. And he does one from
Wow.
an older issue and one from a current issue. And so he's, that's going to take years and years to complete.
Yeah.
And his dedication to that is amazing.
And who is he? I think he deserves to be named after, with taking a task like that on.
Yeah, his name is K. Edwin Fritz. And
Okay.
he's his, you can still find his old columns on the site. And, he's going to be turning in some new ones soon, I'm hoping. Like I said, it's kind of an irregular series, but we just said, look, when you have the time, throw us a new one, and we'll always be happy to get it and put it up there. And he has every single issue of the magazine, starting at number 1 and all the way up to the last one we published a couple of years ago. And So he's a completist, and he knows his stuff. And his articles are, sometimes when I see them come in, I'm like, oh, because they're so long, but they're so good into reading them that I don't mind at all, of course. So that's been one that I think he took that idea to Richard first, and Richard
Okay.
sent it over to me and said, hey, I think this would be kind of fun. Let's see what we can do with it. And so yeah, he's done probably 5 or 10 um, columns on that. So he's got a long way to go, but
Yeah. Yeah, I would say.
it's been fun to read. And another one that stands out to me was, I think you mentioned it earlier, Brian Keene's. We turned it into a book called End of the Road.
Right. Okay.
But he was writing it while he was on tour. So every week I would get a column from him in the email. And so to be able to be the first guy to read something that
Right.
he's writing on the fly, and just to see how, I don't know how much time he spent on each one or how much polishing he did. I never had to do much to it when I got it,
Yeah.
except read it and enjoy it and slap it up on the website. And so to get to see that coming in my email box once a week for those several months, to see that turned into a hardcover book that even had my name in it, was just like, wow, this is a really cool job I fell backwards into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you and Rich took the initiative and got that out there as well, because it was a great book, and a lot of those articles, of course, and entries now we can, like you said, we get to read that in the hardcover book as well. And I'm just thinking, like, that's almost like a Fight Club equivalent of getting corporate sponsorship for to supply his tour.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. That you did have a chance to do that. And how many issues of CD are there out now? I should know this, but I don't.
Let's see. I should know this too, but 78
Okay.
are out, either 77 or 78, and we've got one completed, which would either be 78 or 79.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've looked at that. So we've got one completed, and hopefully we'll be getting that one out soon. We're well known, the printing issues and issues that we've had trying to get caught back up over the last couple of years on the book line. And I'm really pretty far removed from that part of the operation, but I do know that it's been a struggle, and they are working day and night to try and get back on track with that. So the magazine's kind of on the back burner until all of that is caught up and up where it needs to be. But then we'll be ready to go, and we've got some good stories that are waiting to be told, and so hopefully we'll have that going out soon.
Absolutely cool. And I was wondering about that, but I didn't know if I should ask you about that or not. So that's good to know that it's getting a little bit closer to the finish line. And I mean, yeah, the pandemic has just punched a hole right into, especially printers are taking such a hit. I mean, for people that have no idea, like, really, you guys got to go on to, Richard Chismar's social media, and that's certainly on Facebook as well as his Twitter account, where he literally will show these mountains and mountains of books that he's delivered out there. And I can only just imagine, like, the queue at the printer must just be phenomenal. Kind of trying to get all these books out there, and all the other books that are behind that one, and so on, like dominoes.
Yeah, when something like that gets snarled, it's a tough job to get it back smoothed out and going, especially when you continue to encounter issues along the way, even as you're getting things straightened up. But I know those guys are working hard and really trying to get stuff moving in the right direction, and I think they are. And it's they've made an amazing amount of progress this year, and in addition to starting a trade paperback line on top of that, and so definitely a lot of work is being done, and so hopefully we'll get back everything just chugging right along like it should be.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think kudos to, I hope I have his name right, Kevin Lucia, I think it is,
Yeah.
that's doing the paperback line. Yeah, I think he's only been into it, I think, for what, a few months now, at least publicly. And it sounds like and it's great because he's keeping everybody apprised through, again, his social media and putting up posts with his plans and what he's got in mind that's coming out. And I think that's yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun to see that, because it's great having
Yeah,
all the
I would.
hardcover books from CD, but it's nice having a bit of a value line as well.
Right. Yeah, I actually had it in my mind to suggest to you that you get him on sometime, because you talk about a guy who's passionate about what he's doing. He is loving this position. He was actually working with me on the website. He was kind of handling the review side of things
Oh, okay.
for. And then when this came along, he jumped on that, and so he's done a fantastic job. And I've seen some of the titles and some of the people that he has not announced yet, and people are going to be very excited.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that sounds great. And yeah, we'd definitely love to invite him on as well and talk to him about that. I mean, just what CD does in general, and all the operators behind the scenes would be is it's pretty incredible. And I mean, I'm not followed exclusively CD throughout all the years, but certainly looking back at the historical of it, and of course chatting with Rich at length on a couple of occasions. It's just something else that it literally started as him just that was his part-time job, or I guess his full-time job, but his part-time job while he was going through college, and kind of stapling stuff together and getting stories out in the magazine to what it is now, where he's got now the two lines, of course, two imprint lines with Cemetery Dance, and of course the section that you do and all the various articles that come along with it. It's really grown into becoming quite the full-fledged animal for great books.
Definitely. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking too of little surprises as well, I thought it was really cool that you made an announcement maybe a couple weeks ago. Like you said, timing's nothing anymore. But it was a shout out that you gave about your own novel that you've got coming out, or that you're currently working on. You'll have to correct me on the
Yeah,
state
just
of that.
working on. Very
Okay,
much still in
cool.
the in progress stage, but yeah, that's something I've undertaken this year too, and so it's going well, I think.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have it to the point where somebody else can look at it and tell me, yes, this is going well, or no, you've made a terrible mistake.
Yeah. You spent how long on this book?
Right. You may need to rethink those life decisions you've made up to this point.
Yeah, exactly. There's still, I don't know, other jobs you could do, I guess.
Right.
So yeah, no, that's exciting. That's really cool too. That are you able to tell us anything about it at all, or is it too soon for that if you're still working on it? Maybe you're still figuring that out.
Yeah, I know, but I don't like to talk about it too much, because I feel
Sure.
like I'm gonna jinx myself. I will say it's not horror. It's a crime.
Okay.
It's a crime novel. I've been reading over the last 2 or 3 years. I've gotten really heavily into reading crime fiction, and have kind of found a love for that, discovered a love for that, and so that's kind of where this one is heading. But I'm also working now on I started it thinking it was going to be a short story. It's turning into a novella. I don't think it's going to go any farther than that. I'm finally
Okay.
seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, that is more on the horror side. And so I'm hoping to finish that up in the next week or two, and see if anybody can take a look at that and say yay or nay.
Gotcha. Now, are you hoping to go through a traditional publisher, much like Cemetery Dance, or are you going to go self-publishing route on this, or
Yeah, I've got for the book, I've got a couple of places that I would love to send it to, that I think would be a good home for it if it's up to their standards. I haven't really thought about self-publishing. I mean, obviously that's as good an option in many cases as traditional publishing. But my dream has always been to kind of have something traditionally published, and so that's the route I'm going to try first, and we'll see what happens.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then of course take advantage of the added distribution, at least, that you will get from from the big houses and the big publishers. That
Right.
can get you in there, so that'd be nice. How do you balance it all? Because I assume that you're not just kind of hanging out waiting for stuff to come in, reviews to come in, so you can post them and then shut them out on social media while writing by moonlight, kind of thing. So like, how do you factor it in? Because I assume that you think you've got a day job too. I think you mentioned that previously.
Yeah, I have a full-time day job that's 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Um, I have a family that you may have seen some of them sneaking through in the background. A
Yeah.
little while ago, I was trying to Tilton. They were
Yeah, I saw a
going
nice little
outside to do
nonchalant.
something.
Yeah.
So, but so that's been the hardest thing for me, and especially with my own writing, because I feel like my obligations, obviously, to my day job, and then my obligations to the cemetery dance, and then after that, it's kind of like whatever's left. Obviously, I have my family obligations as
Yeah.
well, and so after all of those things are taken care of, then is when I can devote some time to my own writing. But I've found ways to do it. In the mornings on my lunch breaks at work, I'm usually writing, and at night after everybody we've had some time together and everybody else goes to bed. I'm a night owl anyway, so
That works.
I'll get 30 minutes or an hour in there. And with my cemetery dance stuff, I've kind of got it to where I can kind of focus on that on the weekends, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, depending on what we've got going on. I can get that stuff knocked out. And, sometimes if there's a lot of stuff coming in, I have to jump on it in the middle of the week too. And that might
Right.
take up a little bit of my normal writing time. But, just finding the balance is just about prioritizing and just finding those times where you can squeeze stuff in. And if I think about the amount of time I waste in a day,
Right.
I'd be beating myself up about there's a lot more time that I could devote to some of these things. So I just but sometimes you have to take a break and watch
Sure.
something silly on TV and turn your brain off for a while. So I try not to beat myself up too much over that.
Yeah, no, 100%. You have to have that. It's like, I know at the end of the day too, same thing. I've got, a couple of small kids and then a teenager and that, and then, a J job that's nice enough to let me keep coming back so they can give me money, and then doing the writing thing on top. And I've also, I wrote a short novel back at the start of the pandemic. Eventually finished it, but then the trick is, of course, is going through the edits, and that's the lowest priority. And then with everything else, it's like you just gotta put the time wherever you can. And but like you said, I think it's okay to put your head on the shelf sometimes.
Best example I can think of that is when a new Stephen King book comes out, I used to have that knocked out in a day. And we're 2 weeks since Fairy Tale came out, and I'm still only halfway through because I'm having to choose to fit that in with other things. But it's always something to look forward to, and I don't mind kind of making myself take time and savor it because it's something I enjoy. So it's a nice little reward.
Absolutely. Just don't read it too slow, or otherwise you might end up watching or hearing spoilers about the movie before you finish the book. Man, that happened
Yeah,
fast.
they've already announced. I saw where they'd already announced Paul Greengrass is going to direct it. And I'm like, well, yeah,
Right.
I better hurry up and finish this before it hits the theaters.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm embarrassed to say that with all the, I say that tongue in cheek, embarrassed that I haven't read a new King novel in so many years. I think the last one that I read might have been the first one that I reviewed for Cemetery Dance back in the day, Revival.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I know, right? That was a few years ago. So it's a
Yeah,
long
just a
time.
few.
So I just been getting my fill of all the new writers and and all this stuff that's been coming up, and back to that, impossibly slow reading schedule that I pride myself in. And that, but if I keep hearing so many good things about Fairy Tale that I'm like, I think this might be the one that's going to get me off the proverbial couch and get back into it again and read King. And
Well, it's excellent so far. I'm only halfway through. I see a lot of people that I respect talking about it being in their top 10 and of King books, and just really loving it. So everything I've read up to this point, I can see why they're saying that. It's very good.
absolutely, and yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it too. And I should also save my ass as well, and correct myself because I know I did, of course, mention that Revival's last King I read. But before Rich catches wind of this and bans me, of course, I can't forget that there's a book behind me there somewhere called Gwendy's Final Task that Rich Chismar did write was Stephen King. So technically, that was the last Stephen King I read. So there we
Yeah,
go.
you have to count that one.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You probably get a chance to read all the arcs before they come out. I would think of all these wonderful authors.
Yeah, I get some really cool packages in the mail sometimes. That definitely is a nice perk.
Are there any surprises that you've received as far as that kind of goes? Where you're like, wow, this is like 100% the best job in the world. Rich could have me do this for free. Don't make sure you pay him lots of money, Rich. It's worth it. But is there anything that you have come across you probably wouldn't have read as a result that maybe you're even surprised that Cemetery Dance was publishing? That made you feel like that spoiled kid?
Yeah, I mean, maybe back when I first started with them, that was kind of the case. I'm not saying I don't get surprised anymore, because that's certainly not the case. But between we're so much more informed these days, and we have so much more of open lines of communication between fans. And I still consider myself a fan. I mean, like I said, I still consider myself on the fringes of the horror community. And so I still come at it in the attitude and thinking of a fan first. And so when I get to communicate with Joe Lansdale on Twitter, or when I get to, have one of something I say is liked or retweeted by like S.A. Cosby or somebody like that, it still blows my mind. And but the thing with that is, there are so many writers that I've read or follow on Twitter or follow on social media and even interacted with, and I still haven't had a chance to read their books. And so it's like we're in such a good period for horror fiction right now. There's so many new people who are doing such great work. Stephen Graham Jones is one who I read something a few years ago, and then I read My Heart is a Chainsaw, and it's like I've got to go back and get everything this guy has written.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about him in that book in particular.
Oh my gosh, he is fantastic, and everything you've heard about it is true, and he's a phenomenal writer. And so I don't, it's like we're getting such a flow of information and announcements and things almost every day.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm surprised anymore. It's just like, oh my gosh, when am I going to have time to read that?
Right.
It's almost like y'all slow down a little bit. Give me time to catch up.
I know, it's got to feel like you're just, I don't know, somebody unplugged the levee and you're trying to put it all back with a thimble or something. It's just,
exactly.
There's no win, but you got to try, I guess.
Yeah. You just do the best you can. And like I said, there's so many writers that I feel, almost embarrassed that I haven't read their work yet, because I know they're doing great things. The people that I respect are talking about them, and they don't throw around the things they say about these writers lightly. So I know that there's substance to it, and it's like, all right, well, I guess I'll order it and throw it on the pile, and I'll get to it, 10 years from now when they're winning awards, and and everybody's been saying, oh, I've been reading them for years.
Yeah, it's like you get this TBR pile that's so big that eventually you can either expect to have the biggest sense of satisfaction in your entire life, or they're probably going to fall over and kill you, one or the other. It could go either way.
Yeah, I don't stand too close to it, because it's a hazard for sure.
Exactly, and just hope maybe it's the most memorable cover that you get to see last as the last thing before the lights go out.
Yeah, let's hope it's somebody I like falling on the
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh man, how did that book get in there? Damn it. It's not how I wanted this to go.
I thought I'd sold that one off.
Right. And it's the one that kills you. Yeah, you know, let's face it, that's probably how it's gonna work out. Life is like that.
I guess there's worse ways to go.
I think so, yeah, either way. So yeah, no, this is great. And if you don't mind, if you've got time for a couple more quick questions, or
Sure. Yeah.
cool, yeah, really appreciate that. So, and that's one of the things that must be a big rush for you too. Like, is there anybody that, like, I guess through what you do through CD, as well as you touched on the, you do get access to some incredible authors as well. Are there other authors that you've kind of met along the way from Cemetery Dance that you're, again, kind of proud to call friends, that you feel that, well, that's really cool. I never would have expected that person was that type of a character or individual before you actually had a chance to chat with them before getting involved with CD?
Yeah, I mean, all of my interactions, like I've never met Richard Chismar or Brian Freeman in person.
Oh, okay. That's
I live in Alabama, and
Yeah.
they're in Maryland. So, and at this time, I haven't made it to conventions and things like that. I hope to at some point in time be able to do that.
Yeah.
But, most of my, really probably all of my interactions have been, through the internet, through social media. And so, but, when again, I think that's, it's still been an opportunity to maybe not traditionally meet, but to interact with and become somebody that I know I can reach out to, and with a question or just a comment, or just enjoying a movie or something, together, that anytime I get a response back from somebody like Joe Lansdale or Christopher Golden or Brian Keene or people like that, it's like, man, this is so cool.
Right.
Like, where I am now is nowhere near any facet of the entertainment industry. These are people that are on my bookshelves. These are people whose work I read and admire. And because of my association with Cemetery Dance, I've been able to connect with some of those people and to have conversations such as it were with some of those people. So, it's just amazing. And I think, what you realize is that most of these guys are just, and most of the guys and the ladies they're just hardworking people who have a passion for something, and they would literally do it if nobody paid them and nobody published. They'd still be writing, they'd still be telling these stories. And so when I sit down with my book, when I get a chance, or, whatever I'm writing for my own entertainment, and in the hopes that one day somebody else will read it. But I think about those people, and it's like, they're no different than me. They have a talent, and they worked hard and perfected it. And there's no reason that anybody with that kind of passion and drive can't do the same thing. And so getting to interact with those people and figure out that that's what all of these writers who I admire are. They're just hardworking people. It's like, okay, well, that's the kick in the pants I need to work on my own.
No, absolutely. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I've kind of gotten the same impression from a lot of these folks as well, that I've had such a huge opportunity to come across and to talk to in various capacities, mostly not in person, of course, but like you said, through this wonderful technology of the internet, and interacted with them there. And, I think this podcast is one of the best things I've done. I don't know why I didn't do it years ago, because it's also such a cool way to meet great people like yourself and to have that more of a natural conversation. And I know you mentioned Joe Lansdale, and I'd asked him, because he's one of those guys where I've certainly read him before, not very thoroughly, but enough that I knew he was great work. And I mean, how do you do anything in this industry without hearing about Joe Lansdale?
Right.
So of course I couldn't believe when he said yes to a podcast, and I'm with the chat with him. And of course, I'm not one of those guys that really got starstruck, but at the same time, I don't want to look like an idiot, so that maybe he'll want to talk to me again sometime. So the nerves are there, but I think it took a few minutes into the chat where it's like nerves are gone. I mean, he's just one of the humblest, coolest, nicest, funniest guys I've had a chance to chat with. He was definitely a big surprise. Not that I thought he was going to be an a-hole or anything, but it's just you get these guys and they're on a pedestal here, and you just all you're worried about is just don't screw this up and don't look stupid. And I probably didn't pull those things off, but he made it so it didn't really matter too much. Yeah, just some great people.
Well, and what you come to realize is they're probably thinking the same thing. Oh, I hope I don't screw this up. I hope I sound good. I hope I come across good when I'm answering these questions. So, like I said, it's just realizing that there's different levels of success, but for most of the people that I've had the pleasure of interacting with, you'd never know it that we're on different levels.
Yeah, 100%. And again, to kind of piggyback off what you mentioned before, but being able to see all these guys on the internet, it's nice because there's such great people that are in the industry that you end up liking them as people because, as you mentioned, I mean, they're just passionate people, with great talent, that are hardworking, that made the most out of the talent, and are great people as well, so that their personalities don't turn you off, and you end up finding people that you've heard good things about that you're like, I really want to read this person because they seem like a pretty awesome, humble, everyday kind of person, and they're not taking this stuff too seriously, and they seem like fun people to know, and they seem to write great books. So let's get around to reading them. And I've can attribute those people for lots of the books behind me that I've yet to read, or those that I haven't even gotten yet, that I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go on an Amazon binge every now and again. I'll buy a bunch of books and I won't get to read for a while, but that's okay.
Right.
Books are friends, even if I don't
some
open
coming
them.
in the mail this week, and I'm like, I don't know why I ordered these because I don't know when I'm going to read them, but I can't stand not having them in the house. So
yeah, no, I feel 100% the same way. So, and I think anybody watching this, that they're here for that reason, and I think it's a curse and a blessing that we all have to deal with. I think on our own personal levels.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Blu. Again, I really, really appreciate you hanging out with me here and chatting with us. And, I think it's great to be able to put a face on all the hard work that you do as well. And I know that, like the folks that we just referenced as well, I've no doubt that you're also considered certainly one of the humble folks among all that probably work your ass off, to have a passion and a talent for making it work and making it look good, and open the doors for fans and extra writers as well, so that us fans can get our fix. We can build our own Tower of Doom to one day kill us and make us go out the way that we're supposed to go out, with a pile full of books crashing down. So thank you for all that.
Oh, well, I would say my pleasure, but I don't want anybody to die. But
hey, maybe one day one of your books will be there, and that'll be the last cover that we'll see. So
maybe so. That'll be the last one on the pile.
Perfect. I look forward to reading it, whether it kills me or not.
Right. Well, hopefully it won't have that effect on you.
Perfect. So, all right, awesome. Any I hate to call them party words now, because I feel like I just might build up the karma on this too much. But is there anything else you want to give a shout out?
Be sure you follow Kevin Lucia and Cemetery Dance ebooks and trade paperbacks. He's got a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be coming out, and we've got some of the authors behind some of those books are going to be contributing some essays and some blog posts to the Cemetery Dance website. So keep an eye out for those. And I just appreciate your time and having me on. And like I said, from the fringes of the horror community, I'm just glad to be here, and I'm having a great time, and appreciate any opportunity I get from working with CD and talking with you guys. And I'm just appreciative and humbled, and like I said, having a good time. So thanks to everybody that comes to the website and reads stuff, and thank you for contributing and adding another layer to the stuff that we get to offer to people to read. And just keep reading and keep enjoying.